What's going on, Tabers? East here, and BT21's World Convergence is finally out everywhere, and with it comes a wider array of new decks than we've ever seen from a single set in the past. And we just finished up our first full week of events over here in Asia, consisting not only of our regular weekly local events, but also the special release week tournaments featuring that sweet new Megidramon Paladin Mode alt art card. Just a reminder, this card is part of a 4-part set being given away over the next couple of releases during the release week events, and when you put all 4 pieces together they form a full mural. But enough about things to come. Today we're talking about the here and now. Or, I mean, last week. You know what I mean. The new decks that are shaking up the game in the BT21 meta report, things like Apmon, Examon, Megidramon, Adventure, and more, so stay tuned as we take a look at some event results, a couple of key takeaways, and a closer look at some of the decks that topped over the course of the past week. You know, you would imagine that all of these new decks would persuade players to move out of their comfort zone in order to test them out. But not Sakimon players, oh no. I cannot believe I wrote this. Hold on. These wide-hipped fox lovers are truly a different breed. They see a shiny new card in short supply like that release week tournament promo Megidramon Paladin mode, and their animal instincts just take over. And if you want my honest opinion on these people, honestly, I respect them. These are the kind of people that we testers need to fight to figure out which decks can bury them deeper than a minus 10k blanket from Ruin mode. Right alongside those Galaxy Toolbox and Royal Knights players. Although, to be fair, they also kind of did get new tools. Medusamon, new Gallimon promo, yada yada yada. And it looks like this might actually be happening. When you take a look at the performance of decks like Megidramon over this past week, Megidramon's a deck that says, if you don't let me win the game, I'm going to delete myself, in a card game of course, and then it still ends up winning. Some other decks that may be up to the challenge include the likes of Apmon, Armor Rush, and Examon, the latter two of which were basically on life support before this set came out, but they had their Make-A-Wish Foundation dreams come true, and now they're putting other decks in the hospital. And it also feels like more recent decks are trying to get in on the fun as well, especially when you take a look at everyone's favorite Wind-Stealing Crow in Velgramon, trying out new cards like the Arresterdramon Superior mode as a way to evolve and then close out the game with an extra attack. There were also some decks that I expected to see better performance of, things like Adventure, playing all those new Digimon and Tamers, as well as Galacticmon, killing all those new Digimon and Tamers, alongside everyone's favorite 3-horn in Gammamon. Quick sidebar about Gammamon and Ghost Game in general. I've only ever watched one episode of that show, and it was the first episode, and I gotta ask, does the little girl who got aged up by the villain Clockmon to like 90 years old from like 10 years old ever revert back to her original age? Because if she didn't, that's kind of messed up. They don't ever really explain that, I don't think. If yes, you know, put that in the comments below. I'd actually like to know what the resolution was there, because that was kind of messed up. Like, and I know Digimon has some darker stuff, but Jesus. But I digress. I think there were some other underperformers in things like Red Hybrid, Hero in general, as well as Crossheart, which is a huge shock to me. I feel very confident. Yes, I know, YouTuber famous last words, I get it. That over the next couple of weeks, we're going to see one of these decks rise in popularity, just considering all the grime I've seen this past week. And if you too want to see the absolute filth that Asian players are coming up with over here, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more Digimon card game content shuffled directly into your YouTube feed. As a fan of everything that is moral and just and Gallantmon and bipeds, I do not like Megidramon. But this Megidramon deck says that you don't have to like it, but you damn sure will respect it. The main game plan for this deck is really simple. You just make your Megidramon Pinata, and then you fill him up with cards in the trash, and then beat him till he explodes Guilmon cards with Rush to attack and win the game. In layman's terms, the deck sees you building up to your level 6 while also building your amount of cards in trash. And you can do this using things like the BT21 Guilmon, who can discard 1 to draw 2. You've also got the BT21 Growlmon, who can delete a 4K or trash the top 2 cards of your deck. You've also got the War Growlmon to level 5, who can just trash 2 cards at the top of your deck, and then he can also evolve later on. This alongside some old favorites like Miss Memory Booth, who am I, Mike Tyson? This alongside old favorites like Miss Memory Boost and Analog Youth will have you having 20 cards in trash in no time. And once you attack with your War Growlmon, he can evolve at a cost minus depending on how many cards in your trash into the Megidramon. This nets you your cheap level 6 who has security attack +1 and then dark holes the entire board at the end of the attack. While the exact text for the card uses a lot more words, remember kids, reading the card explains the card, you basically get to play Guilmon down who have Rush because of the 20 cards or more in both players' trash, and you can just attack again. And if that wasn't enough, if you somehow manage to evolve into War Growlmon X on your road to crime during that turn, you can get a second Guilmon thanks to his applied deletion effect of playing a Guilmon whenever he's deleted. So for those of you at home who play card games and don't do math, that's 2 checks from the Megidramon, and also, wait, did I mention that the War Growlmon's regular inheritance effect is just on deletion, trash your opponent's top security? So that's 3 checks right there. And then we've also got the 2 Guilmon who make rush attacks for 5. And then you can use the Digimon promo card in order to pull back a Gallimon that you probably milled into the trash in order to, oh, wait a second, not in this deck. This guy decided that he's going to try to draw them instead. Alright, tomato tomato, it's fine. But then you play down a cost reduced Gallantmon in order to make that final swing for game. The deletion effect of a lot of the new cards also gives you +1 memory on deletion, with when you pair alongside Analog Youth, just lets you keep your turn after the attack from the Megidramon anyway. And that, my friends, is how we commit the perfect crime. And honestly, if killing Royal Knights is wrong, then I don't want to be right. Shoutouts to the dedicated Digimon community out there in Brunei, and especially to Lord L, who managed to cover just enough of his playmat to still get this video flagged not recommended for children. For those of us who just got back from church, here's a much more wholesome version of the list featuring the new Examon and some of the new cards from BT21. The deck is basically Daenerys Targaryen's wet dream, where you raise some dragons, conquer the land, and then take your rightful place on the throne. This manifests as your level 5's Grounddramon and Coredramon acting as level 6 cards in order to DNA Digivolve into your level 7 Examon. Numbers are fun, right? And you can do this in a myriad of ways, most of which involve you building up one level 5 stack and then just slamming the other, or when your opponent attacks you can DNA Blast Digivolve into the Examon himself, or by using the Unleash the Dragon Gene option card's delay effect when your opponent so much as even breathes around your dragons. Something that really helps you in setting up your own Red Wedding is the brand new Dracomon X, who can, at start of main phase or on evolve again into a Coredramon for free. And then at the end of the turn, his inheritance lets him DNA Digivolve into an Examon. And with your Examon setup, you can take your rightful place on the throne, and then he can also let you pop out a level 6 Slayer Dramon or Breakdramon? Breakdramon, right? Breakdramon, yeah. I don't know why I want to say Grounddramon, that's level 5, right? And with your Examon setup, you can declare yourself the rightful heir to the throne and then pop out a Slayer Dramon or Breakdramon from his sources in order to bully your opponent's board. That, or if you use the Examon Ace, you can get the alphabet soup of keywords in things like Piercing, Blocker, Evade, and more. Oh, Raid, that was the one I forgot. That's the and more. Raid's the and more. Yeah. What's more is you can take all of this to the next level with the BT21 Examon X Antibody, who has the keyword effects Piercing, Blocker, and Evade, and has the ability to rest everything on your opponent's board, and then he deletes something that's rested after that, Digimon or Tamer. Additionally, he can trash your opponent's security whenever he himself is suspended, and then he unsuspends. And so in the past, if you've dreamed of Examon supremacy, then you don't have to sing uh-oh the misery anymore, because this deck is more than Imagine Dragons. Each week I allow my champion level and higher YouTube members to vote on decks they want to see featured in these Meta Report videos. And this week, after beating my ass with this deck in our Discord Locals night, they decided to take the bullying to the next level and voted to see Vmon Armor Rush. If you'd like to vote on decks that you want to see covered in these kinds of videos, as well as some other cool perks and bonuses like early access to my content, builds for all of the new decks in BT21, and the ability to vote on content ideas for the future, consider becoming a YouTube member today. Again, I want to give a huge shout out to all the folks who do support the channel. I truly do appreciate it, and with that, let's take a look at Armor Rush. Look, all I'm saying is that if you're a Vmon fan in a Digimon card game, you're not actually allowed to complain about your decks. Like, think about it. You had Armor Rush back in the day, you had Imperial Dramon, you had Magnamon X Antibody. I mean, you've been living life on Easy Street. They don't know what it's like to be in these Greymon trenches. I know I've triggered at least 4 people with that comment. I know they're on the YouTube comment section going ham right now about that last Greymon comment. You know what? I don't care. And if you've ever been wondering, oh, what's it feel like to attack 3 times and then armor purge 3 times in a single turn? Well, this deck's got your back. This Pringles commercial of a deck says that once you pop, the fun don't stop. Just evolve one of your amazing Vmon cards into a level 4. By the way, the BT21 Vmon says, and it's not once per turn, by the way. It's not once per turn. Whenever you evolve into an armor trait or hero type, it's cost -1, so if you armor purge, you keep getting the cost minus. What the hell? Who thought this was a good idea? All of these Vmon of which take 2 laxative with their coffee in the morning, because when things get rough, they just purge. And talking about purgeable pieces, you've got some great options in things like the Magnamon who buffs himself, the Security Magnamon who can disrupt your opponent's plays whenever they check him in security. You've also got the Flame Dramon who can force your opponent to draw their own security whenever he changes his attack target. You've got the new Lydramon, who is a super cheap evolve cost, on top of being able to suspend blockers and attack through that. And the new Magnamon, who can spread around DP minuses for every armor in the trash. And the new BT21 Davis Tamer lets you purge at will and also get some memory and card draw out of it. Alongside that, you've also got the Armor Digivolution option card introduced in BT21, which features Davis with a running nose. And this lets you search 3, which the deck desperately needed beforehand, some more search. And also on delay, whenever one of your Digimon is armor purge, you can just evolve into another one for free. Keep in mind, that's a both turns effect, by the way, and that makes this deck even more terrifying. They have disruptive plays on your turn whenever you try to take them out by deletion. One of the differences that I've seen between English and Japanese players is that English players are down to really just lean into the Lydramon and the cheap costs in order to keep more offense, whereas it feels like Japanese players, this list included, tends to go for the Magnamon X Antibody on the upper end. This version of the list says that, I'm going to bully on the playground, and then when someone tries to bully me back, I'll just go to my big brother Megidramon X, and he's unaffected by everything, as a backup. And when things go really sideways, you bring out your BT9 Cleaner in Death Examon to take care of your opponent's board. And if you're a believer in Zap Brannigan's wartime policies, then Armor Rush could be the deck for you.
I sent wave after wave of my own men at them, until they reached their limit and shut down. Kif, show them the medal I won.
And with that, we're going to bring week 1 of the BT21 World Convergence meta report over here in Asia to a close. I think there's so much in this set to really explore. Like right now, I'm going to give I've been theorizing this hybrid / hero deck, and I want to see if I can make this work. Got some really cool ideas. But let me know what decks you are cooking up at home in the comments below. Also, if you're not sure where to start, you're kind of overwhelmed by the sheer volume of new decks at your disposal, I did a quick early impression stream a little while back, and they should be up on the channel now as videos if you want to go back and watch them to kind of get your feet wet with a little bit of each deck to kind of see what you're working with. In addition, I've also released some blog posts about some of the new decks in BT21, and so if you want to learn more about that and you're a big fan of red material, there's a place to do that. Just check the link in the description to a link to my blog website. Anyways, folks, I'm gonna get out of here. Before you get out of here, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.